to Flourish-Meant, the podcast on living life as you are meant to, so you can flourish. I am so honored today to have the esteemed Dr. Svetlana Papazov, who is a pastor, educator, entrepreneur, and a coach and consultant for both individuals and organizations. She does all kinds of work with entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs-to-be. She's president of a Center for Entrepreneurial and Leadership Excellence and of a National Speakers Association. I am so proud and honored to welcome Dr. Svetlana Papazov. Thank you for coming on Flourish-Meant, Svetlana.
Thank you so much, Tina. It is just such a joy and a privilege to serve your audience. I cannot wait to have a conversation with you and to be able to answer some questions that your audience might be having.
Yes, you are such an expert on ministry and business. And sometimes as women, we have a hard time thinking of ourselves as flourishing as business women, especially Christian women. For some reason, we struggle with that. So I brought you here so that you can share with us how business women can flourish. So tell me why this is a passion for you. Is there something in your background, in your life, in your heart that causes you to have a passion for business women who need to know they can flourish?
Absolutely. What a great question. Usually our passions come deeply embedded in our personal stories. And I grew up in a house of an entrepreneur, but not in a free economy. I grew up on the central economy in communist Bulgaria, in the home of an entrepreneur, my mom, a bold individual that practiced her gifts and her skills, servicing the marketplace, servicing her clients behind locked doors in secrecy, because entrepreneurship was actually punishable by law during communism. Nobody was allowed to have their own business and to flourish as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. So I had a very front row of somebody that exemplified everything that an entrepreneur exemplifies: bold, courageous, risk-taking, but passionate to bring value to their community, to the marketplace. And that brought so much awareness to me that if we have the skills and the gifts to solve problems in the marketplace, then it is our responsibility and our great privilege as stewards of everything that God has entrusted to us to bring to the market. Because a business is nothing else than providing a solution to a problem that we notice in the market. And if we notice that problem, and if we have the ability to solve it in a viable way, and we bring it to people, then they are willing to pay us for what we bring as a solution to the marketplace. And that's a business. Business is a good thing. So I learned that very early in my life. And as we came with my husband here, immigrated with a 9-month-old baby, came to a new country with a free economy, beautifully entrepreneurially minded. I jumped right into the opportunity of practicing the degree that I had finished in Bulgaria as a landscape architect, and started my own business as a landscape architect who also had a gift store and a garden center and a florist. And for over 10 years, my husband and I led those successfully, pretty much as missions in the marketplace, taking our core values to bring to the market, to bless people as God has blessed us. So this has become a passion of mine, to be able to come alongside specifically women to start businesses and to grow their businesses, to bring their gifts and skills to the marketplace so they can add value.
You have a unique perspective of seeing two cultures. What do you think is the difference between the barriers women had in Bulgaria and the barriers that women have in the United States to being successful in business?
So in Bulgaria, during my childhood and teenage years. Now it's different since communism is no longer, thank God for that. But when I was growing up, the barrier was that you literally were breaking the law. if you were opening your own business. Now, here, everybody that would like to open their own business is actually encouraged by the free economy in this country. The laws in most states are very entrepreneur friendly. So that's one of the obvious barriers. But I think another barrier that I see that is absolutely common in Bulgaria and here and anywhere you go, to whatever country you go, is the fear of new startups. It is
Mm.
this fear that you're going to risk it all now, and you're going to jump into a new venture, and you've never been there, haven't done that. How is it going to go? Is it going to go well? So this fear that kind of like informs us, supposedly telling us what we are qualified to do, what we are not qualified to do. And a lot of times that fear paralyzes. It probably is the greatest barriers that most of us have to step over and get over it, because we never feel completely ready. That fear is always there. The difference between successful people is not that they're completely ready to jump into their ventures, but that they actually jump into the ventures. Just as they're fearful, as they're scared, they do it anyway. And I think for most entrepreneurs, if we can learn to undergo and get going with our dreams that we have for new ventures, enterprises, small businesses that we want to start, if we can cross the barrier of fear, I think we have probably gotten on the other side of the biggest hurdle that stops most of us from starting our own businesses.
I think that's interesting that fear is our greatest barrier to becoming successful. And those of us, like me, I'm one of those people who are risk averse, have a tremendous barrier in front of us. Even if we live in a free world, fear can oppress us as if
Yes,
it's a tyrant in our lives, can't it?
absolutely, absolutely. So again, my mom, being um, afraid of being punished, and I remember she being afraid because when I completely have this memory of my young, early childhood with police knocking on the door on the outside of our apartment and wanting to come in and investigate my mom as a small business owner. And we stayed behind locked doors, not letting them in because my mom didn't want to be discovered and fined, and who knows what else she had to endure. I just kind of remember these moments. So it's not like she wasn't fearful, but she did it anyway. And I think if we can just look at any entrepreneurial venture as being able to jump into the game and learn as we go. Because the other thing is that stops us, like barriers of preventing us to go in, is this myth we have that one day we'll get ready, and right now we are not. And the thing is that it doesn't matter what we do on the outside of the marketplace, we are never going to be ready, because unless we jump into the market to know what the market demands, what the market needs, we cannot get ready on the outside of interacting with the marketplace. So the best thing that we can do is, as we are dreaming big and we have some ideas, possibly starting a side hustle or a gig or a full-blown small business. So like me, I had 4 businesses. Very shortly after we started the first one, we developed the second and the third and the fourth, is really to get into the marketplace and allow the market to give us insights of the baby version we began on the basis of a big dream that we hold in our hearts. A lot of us just feel like, hey, I'm not quite qualified to really do the full blown version of what I'm dreaming to open one day. That probably is true. And nobody is asking you to start with this full blown vision. You don't have the money, the resources, the knowledge, the qualifications yet. Start with a baby version of that big dream and begin to establish a proof of concept in the marketplace of your desires, of how to bring value to the market, of your skills and your gifts. And as you begin to interact with the marketplace, you will learn so much more than standing on the sidelines thinking that you can get prepared just by reading things, getting degrees, going to school. There is no replacement for actually doing the thing that you desire to do. to be your
That's
teacher.
very interesting. Yeah, because you can continue to get all kinds of more information, more information, more information. And while information is really, really useful, you can start getting that information as you begin to wade into the waters of the marketplace already. So I hear you saying, don't wait to start. You don't have to go in all in with the big version, but start small and start somewhere and allow the marketplace as you start to inform you and equip you to get bigger and bigger as you go. Is that what you're saying?
That is exactly what I'm saying. Thank you for succinctly putting it so well together, summarizing what I just said. Absolutely. Allow the market, your interaction to teach you. This is the greatest pedagogy that you're going to have, the greatest teacher that you will have when you interact with the people in the marketplace, with the needs in the marketplace. Then you will see where your gifts, your skills, your expertise, your knowledge, maybe your degrees, your diplomas, how are they all going to fit together to bring value to the market? Because you will get paid for the value you bring, for the solution you bring to the problem you see in the marketplace.
Hmm. So I'm hearing you say, don't be too afraid to start, but make sure that when you start, you're teachable. You're learning.
Yes.
You're not just being silly about it and just doing whatever you feel like doing. You're listening to the marketplace. You're paying attention. You're keeping your ears, your mind, your heart open and letting yourself be guided. And you're doing this with wisdom, but not with fear. Is that
Yeah.
making sense?
That
Yeah.
makes total sense. You go in with the bold spirit of an entrepreneur that is scared because you are starting a new venture, because it's new to you. You have never done it, but it's bold. But you are bold enough to say, "But in me, I have this desire to serve people, and I know I have some skills, some gifts, some expertise, and an insight and wisdom because of my experience, whatever makes you feel that you have a solution to a problem you've noticed, and there is a compelling demand within you to serve others." Because if we go to the market with this thought, what is it? How can I benefit? How can I profit from what I think that I want to develop for the market? This usually is not a good starting point, because a lot of times when we begin our businesses, enterprises, a lot of times it's not the profit; it is the knowledge we gain. It's most profitable to us. And while we're in it, we learn and we tweak, and we go to the left and then to the right. And what we thought is going to be really the solution to the problem, we need to augment and fine tune. Iron sharpens iron. There is a lot of iron out there in the
Mhm.
marketplace that's going to be teaching us how to get the best out of us to bless others. And then we can begin to profit only because we want to serve the audiences or the people in the market that we're interacting with. Because we have to remember that anybody that ever comes to us and looks into our expertise, the solutions to what we bring to the market, they're asking themselves, what is it? What is for me in what that person is offering? They're not looking at us as the hero, the celebrity. They could care less about us. They're looking at the solution, the value, the blessing that we can bring to the market, so it blesses them and helps them, their lives get changed.
I love that you're coming this from a perspective of being a servant and what can I bring to the marketplace that helps other people, that brings solutions. That actually helps me as an entrepreneur of my own to think about this in a way that isn't worried about being self-serving or profit focused or greedy or contrary to my Christian principles. I'm coming at this full of Christian principles if I'm coming as a servant. And that can actually help me overcome my fear of risk, because if I'm doing it to serve the needs of other people who are waiting for my solution, it's worth the risk.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you mentioned the word profit, and in some of us are averse or have fear or don't even know where we stand in terms of profit. Especially women or shy away from putting a price tag. to their services. It's a little bit easier if it's a product, for us to put a price tag to it. But if it is a service, we're very hesitant, and we confuse flourishing and profitability with greed, and we don't know how to go about that. And some of us that have done ministry for a while also feel confused. I was at the beginning very prosperous and a business person, a businesswoman that was in the marketplace, running 4 businesses, and they were for profit. And then I went behind the pulpit to prepare the people in the pews to get outside of the church walls to impact the marketplace, because that is my greatest passion, to bridge the sacred secular divide. So as I opened the church and opened a nonprofit, an entrepreneurial profit, an entrepreneurial center that is a 501c3 nonprofit venture for a while, because I exited for a small little bit of a time the for-profit world and got into the nonprofit. The ministry almost convoluted my own thinking in terms of reward, stewardship, profitability, and as I looked at dollar signs, I had to question: am I greedy? Can I be paid for that? Am I worth paying? For people to pay for that particular service. But is it ministry? Is it business? And I know that these questions were beginning to confuse even my very good understanding of profitability, good stewardship, what God has called me to do. We sometimes get in a difficult place to separate what we do in the marketplace, what needs to be rewarded with a revenue stream that comes to us in order to continue to survive in the marketplace and to actually thrive. So I wonder, do you think your listeners might be having these questions or wrestling with them as they're trying to start or lead well their ventures?
I think so. I think as women, this is a particularly difficult issue. I don't know why it's more difficult for women. I think it's because historically women have had a hard time succeeding in the marketplace, which was designed originally for men. We're opening it up more for women now, but I think it's been harder, and it still is harder for women to be recognized as legitimate business people in the marketplace. And so we internalize that sense of identity as, do I belong here? Should I really be in business? And is it okay for me to be out here to be that successful person obtaining profit for myself and my family? Is that something that's okay? For men are raised thinking this is part of their identity and this is what esteems them. Women are still not hearing that message as much, even though it's part of Proverbs 31 and part of
Yes.
many of the women of the Bible that
Yes.
are business women. So it's very hard for us because we're not hearing that very much from the pulpit.
Absolutely. So this is where my passion increased when I began to struggle with those questions myself. Because as I said, originally, I was perfectly fine understanding what value I bring to the market as a landscape architect. I designed beautiful homes, the outdoors of the homes, and then signing contracts. Didn't have any problem getting paid for that. But as I transitioned, as I said, into the nonprofit world, especially into the ministry part of the nonprofit world, this wrestling, this struggle became very obvious to me. And so on the other side, as I shook off that whole residue that comes on us, beginning to question, can I charge revenue? Can I charge dollar amounts? Can I attach them to my services? And as I thought deeply about it and theologically anchored them into the truth of the Bible, I'm able on the other side to really coach well entrepreneurs, especially female entrepreneurs who have a problem with that, to say, how can you set yourself apart in the marketplace? How are you going to differentiate yourself? And in what way are you going to price your services that you're putting out there? Because unless we understand that we have to price ourselves well, then we are not going to thrive, flourish, survive in the marketplace. There is no survival without revenue streams. And if we're shy about the revenue streams, then we're just really going towards the demise of our entrepreneurial ventures, small businesses. You and I, if we have that sort of disposition, may survive it as a side hustle, as something that is not essential to our salary making. But if that is your primary salary, you cannot survive if you cannot put a great value and pricing to your product and service. So I'm just going to give your audience a couple of things that have guided me in establishing good, honest prices with my services. So I had to, first of all, shake off all of the squirmish feelings that come over me when it comes time to pricing. Because we have to be honest, women kind of get squirmish about numbers, and then when we put them out there, we feel uncomfortable, and we don't know what people are thinking in their heads. So I had to come first to the realization that sales are transactional. They are not a feeling based, they are transaction based. I am exchanging value for a particular revenue stream. When I go to the marketplace, I bring my value, my knowledge, my understanding, my wisdom. And because I'm coming to the marketplace with the disposition to bless, to serve, then my time that I place in the market in order to be able to bring solutions to the problems of other people, in order that solution to be a blessing, it has to be attached to dollar amounts. Otherwise, I cannot survive tomorrow. If there is no revenue stream coming to my household, to me personally, how am I going to go tomorrow to serve more people? Or what about the next week or the next month? In what way are we going to be sustainable and flourishing if we cannot bring good stewardship to the table? Good stewardship is when I see the value that I bring to the table, I see the gifts, the skills that God has blessed and put in my hand, and I actually decide on the basis of the parable of the talents, how can I invest it best in order to multiply with revenue streams this investment that God already put in me? And so if we take the feelings out of pricing, naming a price, and we see it as a transaction that actually leads us to flourishing, not just our personal flourishing, but somebody else's flourishing, because the value, the blessing, the solution that we bring to the market is needed and sought after. And so if we see it as this blessing that we're bringing to the table, to the marketplace, I think it's easier for us to name the dollar amount that is attached to our service. Does that make sense?
It does. So instead of being squeamish about the number, think about how much your value is worth that you're giving to that person. How much would you value this if someone else were giving it to you? Might be another way to look at it as well. How much are you benefiting that other person by offering the gift that God has given you? Because this is something God has entrusted with us. How are we investing it to increase so that then you can take the money that you've been given to invest more in your own ministry and in more people's lives, because it's not sustainable if you don't get an income from it. And that's something that's a hard lesson that especially authors can learn oftentimes.
Yes, absolutely, because a lot of us do not feel comfortable naming the price, and then the price, we have to remember, attaches to the customer. And so the lower the price, the higher the demand of the people. So let me explain what I mean by that. Usually the people that are not willing to pay a reasonable amount for your services, they would have very high demands. They expect to be given things without reciprocating. They just have a different mindset that they have amassed throughout life. And unless you're looking for that sort of client, I would advise you to name your price really according to the value that you bring to the market, in order to eliminate people from your clientele who will not be willing to see the value. Because if people are not truly seeing the change that your solution will bring to their lives, then we're kind of wasting time there as well. Because don't we all want to make some sort of difference with what God has blessed us with? We want to bring it to the marketplace, bless somebody else's life, change someone else's life. If people don't value the service, if they don't see the significance of the solution that they will be able to get a grasp of, so their lives can be changed, they are most likely not going to apply what you're teaching them to do, or what you're giving them handles to do. So the exchange is not going to lead to life transformation. So at the end, you have to ask yourself, is that the result you're looking for? Is that good stewardship of your time, of your skills, of your gifts that God has entrusted you with? So it is very important to put the right pricing to your service, so you can attract the right type of clientele that would take you seriously and would want to change their lives for better.
I love that. That is so true, because you can attract an entitlement clientele
Yeah.
that is simply expecting you to do everything for them, and they're not going to invest any time of their own if they're not investing any money of their own. So that is very interesting and very true principle, both in retail and in service.
That's right. Absolutely. So it doesn't matter if you have a product or a service. That is very true. It's a little bit easier with a product, although I'll give you an example. I just wrote a book. I know you know that. The Church for Monday is about to launch on the 30th of September, and I'm excited about it. But I have an option to give it away to some people, as pre-release. I got some pre-release copies from my publisher, and but I felt like I need to be a good steward over the free copies that I got, because if I just placed it in the hands of people that are mildly interested or almost disinterested in the topic, then I will do a disservice to the content of the book, to what God has really called me to teach and put out there in the marketplace, because most people that would not pay for the book, they probably won't read the book.
Mm.
And so if we do the same thing with our businesses, with our services that we do out there in the marketplace, if we go and give away services or give them for very inexpensive revenue streams, then at the end, maybe not much would change. Maybe people are just not going to take us seriously and apply what we want them to be blessed with, so their lives can change.
That is so fascinating. I wish I could listen to you all afternoon. This is such great stuff, but unfortunately, we're coming to a close, and I want people to be able to connect with you so they can access your coaching and your consulting expertise and find out more about you and your new book, Church for Monday, that talks about that sacred, secular crossover space. And I love that concept. So I want people to be able to access your book and your coaching and consulting services. Where can they find you and continue to follow you?
I would love for your listeners to just go ahead and drop me a line and tell me, first of all, if anything of our discussion was really helpful to them, and at least to begin to interact with me. Would be thrilled to have that. They can find me at churchformonday.com. This is the easiest way to remember it. I have several other websites, but I think Church for Monday would be a very easy one to remember. You can drop me a line there and say that you want to stay in touch with me, and I would love to connect with you. And especially if you have entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs who are thinking, really have this big dream, and I've been thinking about that for a while. I want to start it, or I've started, but I want to scale up. I would love to work with you and see how we can scale up your business, how we can set you up for success. I love to work with entrepreneurs and find their differentiator, meaning what is that unique quality that you're going to bring to the marketplace so it sets you apart in your industry and in the marketplace. And how are you going to sell what you're going to do? How are you going to develop the services that you're going to be offering? And this fear that paralyzes us is just because you just need a little bit of help. to cross the barrier in order to be able to decide what is that baby dream based on the big dream that you can get going right now. So you can begin to test the marketplace and then be able to go full blown steam ahead after you learn a little bit and have a little bit of a proof of concept of what that dream looks like for you. So would love to talk to your listeners at churchformonday.com.
Thank you, Svetlana. I'm so honored that you came today. You had so much to offer, and I hope that everyone connects with you at churchformonday.com. And I hope that you all return again for the next episode of Flourish-Meant.